This is going to be a little bit of a stretch for a lot of people, Christians especially. We've got prophecies written down that the prophets that wrote them didn't understand. In fact, when they asked Yahuwah to explain it, one case where Daniel asked that, he said, it's for the time of the end. You go your way, Daniel, and it'll be revealed. But something that connected with me when I was reading some of the words of Yahusha in Matthew, well, he added something that was never revealed, but he referred to Daniel and an abomination that was set up where it should not be. Let the reader understand is the words that he added. Let the reader understand. That's what Yahusha added. We'll go over that a little bit. What's been written down? Well, the Hebrew is the inspired text. So any words, or particularly names, that were altered, turned into wormwood, have been altered by men. So they're uninspired. Like the word, take the word Bible, not in the scriptures. It's not an inspired word. It's something that's put on the cover, and people refer to it, but it's not inspired. In order to be inspired, it needs to be in the Hebrew from a prophet, you know. So anyway, what's the latest things that have happened over the centuries? We've been awakened here in the last days where literacy has increased, reading abilities. The King James Version was an Anglican Catholic English translation from the Latin Vulgate. The name of Yahuwah was replaced with the Latin meaning of Dominus. Where the name had been in the Hebrew, the Latin Vulgate had put it into Latin and used the word Dominus in place of the name of Yahuwah. Psalm 23 says, Yahuwah is my shepherd. I lack nothing. Well, in the Latin Vulgate, it says Dominus instead of Yahuwah. Who's this Dominus? Well, it's just a Latin word for Lord. And it comes from the Greek kurios, which means Lord, and aduni, which means Lord. And aduni is not the word in the Hebrew. That's the inspired text. The Greek is not the inspired text. It's a translation. A translation is an interpretation, and the name was expunged. The definition of the Hebrew word, B-A-A-L, actually it's B-E-L, the storm deity of the Canaanites, that was the argument between Eliyahu, the one they call Elijah, and the priests of Beel at Mount Carmel. And that's not good, because if they're calling Yahuwah by the definition of the word B-A-A-L, look it up, it means Lord. Well, that's what Dominus and Kyrios and Aduni mean. Yahuwah does not mean Lord. Well, so the name of Yahuwah was replaced in the Latin Vulgate. And then, subsequently, the Anglican Catholic circus that translated the King James Version used the word in the Latin Vulgate. And that was Dominus, and then they used the word Lord, translated directly. Lord is the definition of B-A-A-L. It's just an English word, but it's a translation from that Latin Vulgate. The word J-E-S-U-S, is that inspired? Or did that just suddenly appear in the 16th century? Well, let's examine that quickly. It was not in the earliest versions of the King James Version. So J-E-S-U-S wasn't even in the first edition. What was in its place was what was in the Latin Vulgate. And instead, I-E-S-V is put into the first edition of the King James. Now you can look at it online. You know, the pictures of the first edition of the Latin Vulgate. So they put something in the place of something that was Very, very special, very set apart. And they took that away and they put in an abomination, a word that doesn't mean anything in any language, and it doesn't relate to who we worship. But they put it in there, so the whole world for centuries has been going, yeah, J-E-S-U-S, he's the one. No, no, the person that did the things, yes, it's the correct person, but they don't have his name, so they put something in its place. Now, the English translators were Anglican Catholics. They just didn't recognize the Pope as the head of the circus. So if they're Anglican Catholics, you can imagine why they would use the word J-E-S-U-S and Dominus, because that's the habit. And you can find photos of this first edition of the King James online. And there is no word J-E-S-U-S in the first edition of the King James Version. Only the Latin Vulgate's I-E-S-V. The V is actually the Latin U. That's what it is. It's pronounced Esu. A meaningless word. It's probably something that was developed into J-E-S-U-S eventually. It's not based on Greek. Yeah, people tell you that, but it's a replacement word outright. It doesn't mean anything, and it has no connection with the name Yahusha, which is his Hebrew name. He only has one name, and it's Hebrew. It's not Greek, it's not Latin, and it's not English. So J-E-S-U-S is an uninspired word replacing the true name Yahusha. And that Hebrew word, literally translated, means I am your deliverer. There is an abomination at work, and it is something being understood as being read. A clue that was revealed by Yahusha at Matthew 24, 11 through 22. About the abomination he referred to by Daniel at Daniel chapter 9, verse 27. Let the reader understand the abomination that has taken place, set up where it should not be. It has been set up in plain sight, and only now being seen at the end of days. Call on Yahusha. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next exciting video. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Bye. Amen.